As a child, I spent much of my time daydreaming of being a fierce buccaneer, pioneering desolate islands on my pirate ship, or as a mermaid, gracefully gliding through the calm water in my backyard swimming pool. Heading to the beach was an opportunity for my young mind to experience for the first time a force much more powerful than I could ever be, a presence I could not express in words, but could be felt in the deepest regions of my soul, as something that I connected to, feared, and admired. The creativity and connection that I felt from the ocean's presence has followed me into adulthood and continues to be a great source of adventure, pleasure, and childlike curiosity in my life. These feelings are not mine alone. Adoration for the sea and the many creatures in it is something that has been shared for centuries with others. Often, the human-ocean relationship is revealed through art. Art is an imaginative outlet of human expression, where creativity is used to capture beauty, illustrate the power of emotion, and symbolize the human condition. Although adoration, adventure, and the human connection to the ocean have been timelessly evident through art, pop culture, and folklore, our actions as a society continue to damage and are possibly irreversibly destroying the very object of our affections. On a recent visit to Sculptera Winery in Paso Robles, California, I noticed many sculptures by a man named John Jagger. Jagger was born in Chicago and became a full-time professional sculptor using his master's degree in creative design. His pieces have been featured throughout the United States and even abroad. He was commissioned, along with a few other artists, to make Sculptera a destination location for those who enjoy a quality glass of wine while taking in the various installation pieces around the property. As I turned a corner, there she was, the mermaid. She was 10.5 feet tall, standing on her fins, with 2 by 4 foot angelfishes surrounding her. With her arm and chin extended upward, she possessed an elegant and whimsical presence. This 700-pound casted bronze sculpture captured the essence of my childhood, and I immediately connected to her. Upon inspection of her delicate form, I noticed patterns of vertical lines in her posture, tail, and the fish's fins. These lines imply aspiration and suggest the potential for movement in her fictitious underwater habitat. The vivid green marble in the fish's eyes was amplified by the natural sunlight of the outdoors. The overall piece was frontal in nature, although featuring a walkway to explore the backside. Upon further investigation, I learned that the original mermaid piece was installed in a bank in Los Angeles. The Sculptera piece was later modeled from the original and recasted by John Jagger for this particular space. The obvious skill required to create this piece left me in awe, but also intrigued, with many questions about the history and techniques of bronze sculpture making. Although there are many disciplines and varying levels of skill in the art world, fine arts, such as sculpture making, are some of the oldest and most revered methods of human expression. This bronze sculpture, unclearly named Zeus or Poseidon, makes an appearance in our textbook. It dates back to as early as 450 BCE. Richard Stone from the Metropolitan Museum of Art elaborates on the history of using bronze as a medium for sculpture. He states that beginning in the second half of the 15th century, and drawing on inspiration from Roman prototypes, Italian artists began to use the lost wax casting method to create their sculptures. The problem with this method was that the original model was lost, and only one bronze sculpture could be produced. Soon after, an indirect method involving an intermodel was developed and utilized. Techniques have evolved to piece molding, using clay, plaster, or a 3D printed material, to hollow casting, using wax and a metal skeleton. Although the staff at the winery did not know the exact method of how Jagger casted this mermaid piece, I suspect it was most likely piece molded and welded, due to it being a replicate. As I stood there admiring her, I began to wonder what Jagger's intentions were for creating this piece. After learning that he had been a diver since the age of 24, it was apparent that he shared the same closeness to the Earth's ocean as I do, and countless others throughout history. Wikipedia contributors propose that mermaid tales originated in ancient Astria. They claim that a story emerged of a goddess named Atargatis, turning her own legs into the tail of a fish as punishment for accidentally killing her lover. Many Greek and Roman mythologies have made reference to mermaids and gods of the oceans through the stories of Nereus, Neptune, and Poseidon. The Birth of Venus, a painting by Sandro Botticelli from 1482, shows Venus standing atop a giant seashell with a large body of water behind her, implying that she was possibly born from the sea. 11 years later, in 1493, Christopher Columbus even reported a mermaid sighting during his Caribbean exploration. By the late Middle Ages, the existence of mermaids was firmly believed, and they were even featured on many coats of armor. Royal ships were embellished with mermaids on the bow, such as Prince Frederick's barge from 1732. Mermaid tales have even inspired literature, such as Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid. In recent years, there has been a great deal of discussion and new literature related to the ocean, but for less entertaining purposes. Although there are numerous threats to the health of our ocean from garbage, overfishing, and oil drilling, there is one with more potential for devastation than the others combined. Adrian Sponberg, the Director of Public Affairs at the American Society of Limnology and Oceanography, explains how the Earth's ocean is absorbing nearly 1/3 of the carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere. The result? Ocean acidification, which Sponberg states is translated into a 30% increase in acidity since the Industrial Revolution. This change affects the skeletal structures of phytoplankton and coral reefs. Ocean acidification, along with rising water temperatures, can be seen through the bleaching of many once colorful coral reefs, like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. As organisms are being wiped out at a microscopic level, larger organisms will be directly affected due to the disappearance of the smallest level of the food chain. Sponberg states that if the ocean continues to acidify at this rate, by the year 2100, shells will literally be dissolving off the backs of some organisms. The seemingly small ripple in the ecosystem will amplify as it moves up the food chain, where it eventually reaches us humans. In a peer-reviewed book titled Climate Change and the Great Barrier Reef, a Vulnerability Assessment, and published by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, GBRMA for short, the authors explain how crucial tourism and commercial fishing is to Australia's economy. They state that tourism revolving around the Great Barrier Reef and fishing industries which rely on the reef's health add up to $6.1 billion and $119 million respectively to the Australian economy annually. GBRMA goes on to state that approximately 70,000 people are employed in these industries collectively along the coastal cities near the Great Barrier Reef. It is not unreasonable to assume that if one of the world's largest and once healthiest coral reefs is struggling to survive due to warming waters and ocean acidification, that this is not an isolated incident. Other coral reefs are struggling against the same attack, which means that exponentially more people may lose their entire lifestyle and livelihood in the not-so-distant future. So we are left to answer one question. What is the mermaid piece's significance? Why does it matter? One could argue that she is simply a form of amusement, a story tale that somehow survived centuries as a method to entertain children. To me, the mermaid is much more. She captures a kinship, a relationship that our kind has had with the sacredness of the ocean for as long as we have existed. It seems that while we revere and artistically represent our appreciation for the sea, we somehow simultaneously neglect and even willingly destroy the life within it. This is the part of the human condition which is not reflected through this piece. The mermaid's aesthetically pleasing figure, peaceful face, and vivid portrayal of life fail to capture the reality of our current situation. With the Earth covered by 71% ocean, I want to emphasize its importance as possibly one of the largest natural resources we have, and to encourage you to consider a life without the bounties of the sea.